Hello, everybody. Welcome out to the Collective. My name is Salvador, and this is Infinity Frequencies Between Two Worlds. Now, this is a complicated album. It's very complicated. So, Infinity Frequencies has been around since the start of the vaporwave scene. They've had a lot of very notable releases since the beginning, and they've always been a topic of discussion within the scene, and not without good reason. The problem is, I feel like consistency is that problem. Now, usually with ambient works, right? Like how Infinity Frequencies is trying to be. Um, you want a track that you got to get a lot of things right: the texture, the pacing, a lot of stuff. Um, the sound quality, if you want it to be lush or maybe sharper or slushy, whatever, right? There's a lot of things you have to get exactly right, and then it puts you into this mood, right? The problem is that this album it lacks consistency, which is almost a requirement in ambient music to make you get into this state. And the problem with this album is that each track is so short and the texture of the sound changes so much that it just ends up not working and it feels like it's fighting itself. Why are they fucking screaming? Anyways, I don't know if you can hear that. Don't worry about it. Anyways, the album feels like it's fighting itself a lot of the times. Where like right when I'm getting into a nice state of mind for one song, it fades out, another one fades in. It's a completely different texture, completely different vibe, and that's part of the problem. With something like Mesh's albums, I really like his albums because they're still vaporwave, with even some synthwave mixed in there, but they do feel very adventurous. The whole album is like a whole hour and a half long song, and all the transitions are very clean, and it may go to a lot of different places, but it's not trying to be as one note as ambient music does. You like there's obvious verses and choruses and like transitions and all that kind of stuff. With an ambient project, the best thing you can do is do the same thing for enough time and know exactly when to change it and have the right amount of execution knowledge to change it correctly. And with this song, like I said, there's a lot of things that tend to clash with that, right? One of the things is that, unlike Mesh, rather than having you go on your own adventure, it feels like Infinity Frequencies is trying to put you on a specific adventure, which directly negates what ambient does. It kind of goes against it, where the best parts about ambient music is you put it on and you let the music take you and do whatever it wants, and you kind of, go on your own little adventure, right? It feels like with Infinity Frequencies, he has a song, and the song is titled a certain thing, and he's telling you to think a certain way, which is fine. Some music does that, some music is more direct, and ambient music can be direct. The problem is, because the tracks are so short, right when you get into a certain headspace, it just goes into another track, it's something completely different, and it's to quote Aaron Hanson's Sequelitis stuff about some of the older Zelda games and new Zelda games, it's less like you're going on your own adventure and more like you're being taken on a tour at Disneyland, that kind of thing, right? Where rather than you going on your own little adventure in your mind and music kind of taking you where it's going to take you, but in a much looser fashion, with this, it feels more pointed and it's more direct and it's at a fast pace that ambient music does not work at. Ambient music naturally is a much slower process. And one of the other things that work against it is that a lot of the tracks have very different textures. A lot of it's sample based, so there's a lot of piano. There's a lot of pianos in here. Problem is, some pianos are more lush, more round. Some are more sharp. Some are detuned on purpose. Some are not detuned and sound great. Some tracks are more ambient drones. Some are string arrangements. Like there's a lot of different things going on, and also there's tape hissing, and like feedback, and different sounds like that in the background of the album, which would work. The problem is that it doesn't operate like tape hiss does. What you would want for to have that effect is to have the tape hiss be the exact same pitch and tone for the entire album. The problem is with each track, the tape hiss is a different intensity or quality or pitch, and it fades in and out and changes with the tracks. And sometimes when he loops a sample and changes it, when he changes the pitch of the sample for an effect, the effect is ruined because the tape hiss also changes with that sample. So it kind of takes you out of it again. You know what I mean? There's a lot of little things like that, and it feels like I'm nitpicking the album. Well, it feels like I'm talking down to the album a lot. I'm not really trying to downplay it a lot. It is good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but there's a lot. I've only said negative things for almost 6 minutes. These are all small things. They don't ruin the album, but there are things that are worth noting that could make the album that much better. The album's not bad though. Like, there are certain tracks that do get me in a mood right away. Like the first track, The Descent, is a good example. You put it on and immediately you're kind of dragged down to the solid melancholic feel. The problem is that not every track does this. Kind of. A lot of the tracks I didn't like on the first listen. I found a lot of them quite annoying with how repetitive they were. But I was listening to them on my computer. I have my air conditioner back there. There's a lot of things to look at, just a lot of stimuli, people talking in the hallway, things. I got a window I can look outside right here. There's a lot of things going on, right? And I'm on my computer. I'm looking at other things and whatever else, right? But when I listened to the album again, I had my Bluetooth headphones on. I turned them up louder than usual. I lied down in the other room on my bed, and I got all swaddled up, and I just stared at the ceiling so I could mainly focus on the album. With an ADHD brain, that's hard for me specifically because my mind was wandering, and then I ended up falling asleep right near the end. But I noticed that despite that, a lot of the tracks had much more of an effect on me. And meaning that where you listen to this album, music in general, where you listen to it, how you listen to it, the context, the mood you're in, a lot of that stuff does matter. If you're listening to, let's say, a Cardi B track on your headphones, lying on your bed, or at a club, it will have a very different effect on you. Same with any kind of music, Obviously, certain music is made for certain atmospheres, right? But I feel like the best music should not rely on that. And if not rely, it shouldn't need that. I feel like this album needs you to be in a certain, not necessarily a certain headspace. Like the first track, it can drag you down there by force, which is good. That means the music is really, really good and can do its job by itself. But the rest of the album feels like if you're not in this headspace, if you're not in this situation, if you're not listening to it in this way, it's just not going to work, and it doesn't. And that's the problem, is the music itself is not good unless it's in this very specific circumstance. And even then, does that mean it's really good if it needs all this other stuff that's not the music to support it? Like other ambient music, it can enhance a mood you're in, but when you have something, again, that's trying to put you on a very specific journey, it's not about that. It's about taking you and putting you somewhere else, and you don't really have a say in it. You know what I mean? Like if I listen to The Mesh, no matter what situation I'm in, I feel like I'm going on this big thing, and there's a lot going on. With this, I feel like I have to kind of let myself do that and get myself in a certain situation. And again, good music should just be able to do that by itself. You shouldn't have to allow music to make you feel things. If the music is good enough, you'll feel things regardless of where you are or what you're doing. Now, I've been talking bad about this for almost 10 minutes now. I realize that. That's not to say it's horrible. I do like a lot of songs on it, even without being in this specific mood, right? Or in this specific context. I liked the first track, The Descent. It's, like I said, you listen to it, and it immediately kind of puts you in this melancholic, solemn place. Something like the second track, Under the City, is not as darker. It's a bit more contemplative, And there's a lot of other songs like that on this album, too, that even, again, without being in a certain mood, I do like. And it's good enough to drag me into a certain mood. The problem is, I don't remember any of them, because these are all so different ideas and they're all so short. they end up being very forgettable. I listened to this album like 5 times now, in full. Excuse me, and I still can't remember like a lot of the tracks. You know what I mean? What I'm gonna do right now is I have the album beside me. I'm actually going to go through a bunch of the songs here and just to remind me what they sound like so I can comment on them. But yeah, The Descent is good. Under the City is good. Track 4, I end up liking. That one has some string arrangements. It feels a lot more almost like early Disney, like very like magical in a way, but still not really in a good way, kind of in a contemplative, melancholic way. This entire thing is very liminal and very solemn, liminal, melancholic, contemplative, that kind of stuff, right? And even the album cover works in that advantage as well. A similar thought is one of the more drone level pieces where it's not really a piano playing notes, it's a drone. It's just kind of a thing for a bit, right? Deleted Space is one of those ones where I found it annoying at first, but there's enough of a pulse. It's very slight. There's enough of a pulse in the dynamics of the piano playing to make it not annoying. But you have to really kind of listen to it closely or have the volume up enough. You can have certain songs be very long and repetitive and somewhat annoying, but even if they pulse just a little bit, it basically tells your brain that it's not endlessly repeating, and you can have something that's like 2 notes. It's just that would be annoying, but if it's pulsing enough, it can have a very hypnotizing effect. Again, it's all about execution in these examples, right? When it comes to other songs, I'm trying to find it, but there's one song it's like 2 notes. It's very, very hold on one second. I apologize. It's not Deleted Space. I wish things would load faster. As It Stands is a string piece, and that one is nice, but again, I feel like just because there's more notes in it, it's being played at a faster tempo. Again, it kind of clashes with the other songs, which are a lot more slower pace and again more contemplative. People are banging a lot out there. Damn. Yeah, so the song I was looking for, Isolated Structure. It's only like 3 notes or 4 notes. Bum 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 bum. That's it, right? And it goes on for like 2 minutes, way longer than it should. But again, in the right circumstance, like if you're on your bed, headphones, all kind of stuff, right? All what I said before. If you really listen to it, there is a lot of nuance to the sounds. I don't know if it's deliberate, if it's just like how the original, if it's the frequencies just doing frequency things, but it's just like how the notes, when you really sit with it, a lot of these songs, you can really unpack all the very little things, like how you hear the notes, then you hear the slight delay on the notes, and then you hear the tape hiss, and then you hear you can kind of pick apart the 2 lines of the piano part. You kind of listen to one and the other. You listen to how just there's certain like frequencies ringing in the background. Like there's a lot of little nuances in the sound that I don't know, again, if it was actually made by Infinity Frequencies himself and actually tangibly done with some effects, or if that's just the original sample he had. They recorded it in a room and the sound was bouncing a weird way off the walls. I don't really know. Like if you play a guitar up to an amp, it'll make weird sounds because it's doing there's a lot of frequencies going back and forth, so it makes all these weird sounds, right? If you sample that, that's not you, that's the original sample. I don't know which it is, but either way, I think one of the strengths of Infinity Frequencies is his ability to choose the right samples and to put the right effects on them and tweak them in the exact right way to make them as meditative as they are. But again, the problem is the consistency. There's too many different textures and different ideas that are fighting for attention, and they're going by way too fast. And some songs are the exact right length, like The Descent. Some go on way too long, like I said, structure, and some could be long, like drone tracks. Like I think A Similar Thought was one of them. Yeah, like A Similar Thought could definitely go on way longer. It's only 43 seconds. It could be like 4 minutes maybe, and it would be just enjoyable. So I feel like if we got an Infinity Frequencies album, maybe there is one I'm just not aware of, because like I said, I'm not like an expert on his catalog, But if we had an Infinity Frequencies album that was way more consistent, and he could really get a handle on pacing, I think it'd be like unrivaled. It could be a phenomenal album, but I think he needs to focus a bit and kind of bring himself in and really hone in on like a one sound or one idea, and then go full on that. There is a Depeche Mode song. It's one of the bonus tracks for Violator called Sibling, and that song is like almost 5 minutes. And again, it's one of those songs where it immediately drags you into this very dark, creepy, kind of icky mood, right? It's very eerie, very melancholic, but in less a solemn, depressing way, more of like a dark, evil way, right? And it drags down in this immediately, but there's so many sounds and details going on in the headphones, and it's pretty much the same thing for like 5 minutes, but it's just very engaging the whole way through, with how the dynamics are, with the pulsing feel, all the different trippy sounds in the background, the piano in the forefront. I actually think Infinite Frequencies could make a song very similar. It sounds like something he would do. It's very similar, because you have your piano up front playing your main melody, and you have all your trippy effects in the background, your electronic effects, right? And it's just that for a whole song. But I feel like that is done way better. And if, maybe what he should try and do, and this is just me shooting stuff out there, but, I'm not going to tell him what to do, but I'm just saying what I think could make this better is if he, like some other vaporwave producers, a lot of others, did it live and original, not with samples, so he could really, really have full control over what's going on in the music. And if he just had like, some kind of piano track, it could be a longer track, could be a bunch of shorter tracks, who knows, but if he's able to get consistency done, that would be really cool. And I feel like that would allow him to do that, because he's not reliant on the samples that he has and limitations of those. There is another vaporwave artist I like called Ethereal Media. They have an album, I think it's called Skywaves. Let me make sure. Yes, the Skywaves EP by Ethereal Media. That one is what I think Infinity Frequencies could do. It's 4 tracks, could be longer, but the consistency is there. I really like that EP, even though it's only 4 songs. It's that consistency is there, and that's what makes it such a good album. And with that, I'm going to give this album, I think, maybe I want to say 4, I don't know. I would say maybe a 5 or a 6. It's really hard to rate, because, I'm off camera, sorry. It's really hard to rate because, again, in certain circumstances it's really good, in other circumstances it's not good. But like I said before, I don't think the album should rely on those circumstances. It should be able to do it by itself, in and of itself. And because of that alone, I feel like a 4 is definitely. I feel like a 4. You know what? No, I'll say 5. Because I've actually looked at all the songs that I've liked without being in that state, and I've actually liked quite a lot of them, about half the album. So I'd say 5. 5 is good. 5 is a good number for me. and I feel like that's a fair number. All right, and that's gonna be it for this. That's it. If you want to subscribe, feel free to subscribe. I try and focus on music that the mainstream critics and reviewers don't cover. People that could definitely use more exposure, artists who use more exposure, genres, all that kind of stuff. All the good music that you're never gonna hear. I'll definitely talk about. From vaporwave to Vocaloid to underground metal artists, noise, whatever, right? Anime stuff, video game stuff, all that kind of stuff. I plan to release my own music at some point. So if you want to subscribe for that, feel free. I'm going to release my own music. I'm doing everything. I'm doing the drums, doing the guitars, the bass, keyboard, doing all that myself, vocals, recording all that. So subscribe for that. And when I can, I live stream my practice sessions, and I just live stream me playing the stuff. So if you want to ever check those out and get those live, feel free to subscribe. And that's going to be it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and listening to my dumb ass talk about this album for 21 minutes and 5 seconds.